Okay, since I'm taking down snake lights, I thought I would answer some common questions that I get about snake lights and putting them up and taking them down. And these I have put on here with the zigzag method, where I start at the top and I go zigzag and in and out on each branch all the way to the bottom. All lights plug in to a power strip at the bottom of this tree. So I've got 8 strands on here. 2 strands are on the trunk, 1 on either side of the trunk. The rest are the zigzag on the outside of the branches. And that's how I'm able to get the light to come all the way out to the end of the branch, is with the snake light being so long that I can go from the top to the bottom and in and out and light the entire branch with one snake light. And again, they all plug in at the bottom. I've got my tree collar there, and I've got a power strip with everything plugged in behind the tree collar. So I'm gonna take off some lights for you. Sometimes on a green tree, you can just stand at the bottom and just pull them off. So you don't have to go around and around and around the tree if you didn't put them on around and around the tree. It's really easy to pull them off. However, since this is such a flocked tree, and my flocking is a DIY flock, so it's a little more fragile, I think, than a factory flock tree. Even with a factory flock tree, I would probably do this as well. I'm gonna climb the ladder and I'm gonna pull them down without just pulling them off the tree, because I don't wanna pull the flock off. So they are very easy to pull off, and they are easy to get down if you've put them up in the zigzag method. So I'm gonna take a light off for you. Now, check this out. These lights are very sturdy, so you don't have to worry about throwing them on the floor, all right? You can step on them, they're fine. Another thing that I did on this tree with my zigzag is on the loop of the branch, at the end of the branch, I tucked my light under to hide the wire against the flock. So that's another reason I didn't want to just tug on the lights. All right, 1 strand down, 7 to go. Now, how do you store these lights? So these are holiday hang-ups lights, and they come wound in a loop, an ongoing loop. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna loop them back around my hand and put them back in the box. Now, before I use these again, I'm gonna unloop them. I'm gonna put them back down on the ground like they are and put them in the tree from that position, because I find that if you take them to the tree in a loop like this, you might get a tangle, because you might drop them or they might fall and then they just sort of tangle. But if you unwind them and have them stretched out before you start putting them on the tree, it's no problems. That's my tip. I would definitely undo them before you start adding them. And then if you're gonna take them down and store them, this is what I do. I just curl them back up, stick them in the box. And actually, you don't even have to put them in the box if you don't want to. You could just put a zip tie or a twist tie around them and put them in a bin or whatever. But I still have the boxes, so I'll just stick them in the boxes. All right, I've got, this is a 75 foot. If you're wondering how many feet is 75 feet, it's a lot of feet. And it has 1,000 lights. And the reason I like that length is because I can get from the top to the bottom of a 10-foot tree and light each branch going down and get to the bottom of the tree and plug them in. So it's the right length for tall trees, definitely. I use this length on this 10-foot tree. I have a 7.5-foot tree. I have a 6.5-foot tree. And if I have a shorter tree, then I just go wider with my zigzag to get to the bottom. But I try to time that where I get to the bottom so that I can plug them in. These have quite a bit of lead wire, and just a second, I'll show you what the lead wire is. The lead wire is the wire that has no lights that leads from the strand of lights to the plug part. And so if you happen to land in the middle of the tree, you can pull this lead wire down to plug your lights in at the bottom, and you don't have lights on the floor or whatever. So that's what the lead wire is for. These are the ice white lights. They are not connectable, but the 2024 snake lights that are in the warm white are connectable. So that's a whole nother ball game. But this is how I use those. I plug them in at the bottom, all of them into the same power strip. All right, to answer another common question that I get, are you putting lights on the back? Yes, I'm putting lights on the back. It is just kind of hard to film, I guess, and I tend to film from the front of the tree, but here is proof. There are lights on the back of the tree. So I go all the way around the tree, even though I'm not taking my lights around the tree. I'm coming from top to bottom. I'm doing that all the way around the tree. So yes, there are lights on the back of the tree. Also, you kind of want to do that just to balance the weight of the things that you're putting on the tree, because I have heard of people just trying to decorate the front and the tree falls over because it's too heavy on one side. So the lights aren't heavy, but it adds up, and you want to distribute your weight evenly across your tree. So definitely put lights on the back. All right, that is all the lights off of the branches. The two remaining light strands are deep into the tree on the trunk. There are two of them, one on this side and one on that side of the trunk. So the idea there was the ice white lights didn't have a matching cluster light. And last year I did a lot of designs where I put a cluster light on the trunk, and I was just trying to see what it would look like with a snake light on the trunk instead of a cluster light, and it worked perfectly. So I did two of them instead of one, and I ran, like I said, one on either side of the trunk. and that gave me another 2,000 lights deep into the tree. I could have set them on a different setting, you know, like that's the whole idea behind the cluster light on the trunk, is you can set it to a different setting and then you can have like a more subtle movement to the tree. I never did that. I just left them on. I did like having the lights deep in the tree. I just think it adds more lights, and who can go wrong with more lights? Honestly, I think it lights up the decor from the inside, and I had a lot of those iridescent large balls that I showed earlier, and that sort of lights them up. So I liked having the lights deep into the trees, and by doing those lights on the trunk, that meant that my outside lights didn't have to go as deep into the tree on the branches. So I was able to light the branches without going so far in with my lights. Anyway, it looked great. It was perfect. I loved it. I would recommend. You don't have to have a cluster. You can use a snake on the trunk. It works just as fine.